You know what happens when people crowdfund shit?
Usually stinks.
Yep. Coincidentally, our channel is crowdfunded.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, man. It's rare that we find a successful story when it comes to art, especially being crowdfunded. But in general, crowdfunding usually results in shoddy products, rush deadlines, and just general assness
Yeah.
when it comes to
Scams.
quality. Lots of scams. Most of the time, it doesn't even result in anything at all.
Nope.
But every now and then, we have a story where, whether it's successful or not, it actually produces a product that satisfies at least a portion of those people that were involved in funding it. The question is,
Hey.
was the movie we're talking about today one of those? We're talking about Terrifier. But first, hit that music.
Movies, music, story times, all kinds of shit for you. Everything goes if it's happening now from corpulent.
So for those of you who don't know, Terrifier is actually based on a short film, an anthology called All Hallows Eve, from director Damien Leone, who went on to direct the full-length version of it. And I haven't seen All Hallows Eve. Have you?
No.
Okay, so completely unprepared for this. But as far as I understand it, it's basically just a shorter version of the movie. They basically expanded.
It was a bunch
The
of
concept.
it was a bunch of shorts that he had filmed that he put together into an anthology.
No, yeah, I mean in terms of the character
Yeah.
of Art the Clown. Now, if you've seen the poster art here, then you know that it's Gay Racula and not Art the fucking Clown, you asshole.
Yep.
Anyway, this is the poster. Boom.
Still gay Racula.
And third time's a charm.
That's ass cam.
Look, man, this ass cam business got to stop. Anyway, here's the poster. Boom! That motherfucker right there is the Terrifier himself, Art the Clown, a almost mime-like
Yeah. Punchinello.
Punchinello. The first time the word Punchinello has been used well in over a century.
Definitely not
Thank
by
you,
Dean
Dean
Koontz.
Koontz. But yeah, man, he's basically a silent clown that is of indeterminate origin and identity. And the movie is pretty straightforward, a slasher movie. There's not much there in terms of plot. There's no subtext. There's no
Nope.
underlying themes that you should work and fiddle through as you watch the movie. No, this is
the movie.
This is just a slasher movie through and through. And you know what? Sometimes that's a good thing because it's been a while since we've had a good slasher movie. They still exist. You know, we get your Hatchets and we get your Laid to Rest.
Yeah.
They're decidedly underground, as this movie is itself underground. Only this feels a little bit filthier.
Yeah.
It feels dirtier. It feels like
that gross tape you find at the.
yeah. This feels like something you could have legitimately rented in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and it actually reminds me in terms of its feel, in terms of its aesthetics of another slasher movie, although this one more of a comedic one called Gutter Balls. But they both have that filthy, grimy look that is it's very intentionally shot that way, but it elicits a certain response in you that if you're the right person, it could make you cough uncontrollably, like a fool. But anyway, yeah, if you're the right person, it could take you back somewhere. It could even bring you warm feelings if you're that type of bent individual. And I guess I am that type of bent individual because I actually really enjoyed Terrifier. But what was your take on it? Was this a dud for you? Was it a...
I thought it was terrific, Ire. You liked that?
Yeah,
I really liked it.
That made me want to slam dunk you into a trash can, but since the ass cam is currently rolling, that's footage that must not be wasted. No, yeah, man, Terrifier was actually pretty fun, man. Now, this is not for everyone. This is a movie that's for horror fans, and not even all horror fans. You know, this is for a very specific breed. Now, thankfully, we have a wide. I'm sure I should say we don't have a distinguished palette. In other words, we're not about one specific type of subgenre in horror. We just like it as long as it's good in the specific sense it is supposed to be good in.
Yeah.
And this is, like I said, just a nitty-gritty, dirty slasher. And it does quite the job at that. But let's talk about this. Let's break it down. Characters and the actors portraying them. Now, this is a low-budget movie, so don't expect Academy Award-winning performances here. Although...
Daniel Day-Lewis isn't it?
Yeah. No, but I will say this. Just an interesting factoid to throw in here. It's very rare that we see A-list actors or even, B-list actors actually sell horror. It's like the rarest thing when fantastic actors can make horror work. I mean, just think back at when, I don't know, like Liam Neeson was in The Haunting remake. That was fucking terrible. Recently we had a Winchester with, what's-her-fucking-face. Atrocious. Why? Because there's just something that doesn't click when you have a big-name actor in a horror movie. On occasion it does, but more often than not it doesn't.
Yeah.
And slasher movies are not the type of genre where you need great acting. You need serviceable acting to get to the meat of it. And the meat of it is literally meat that is
chopped up,
hacked and chopped. So, the actors, the characters they portray, what's your take? Hit it.
I mean, like you said, they kind of stink. But they work, especially because of the feeling that the movie gives. Mm-hmm. It just kind of has that kind of like grindhousey feel. So the kind of stinky acting works with the movie. And like you said, they actually kind of pull off the horror.
Yeah, man. I actually didn't think anybody was horrendous. But yeah, they're not great.
No.
If I were to pick one that was truly horrible, she's actually the first person in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of in a prologue that sets up something later in the movie. And she's a reporter, basically. And she was not a good... In fact, the moment she came on the screen, I was like, "Ooh, okay, so this is going to be just bad acting through and through. If this is how you're going to start it off. But no, they actually got better than her. Yeah. So that's a good thing. But again, yeah, I mean, it's almost like a warm, fuzzy feeling to see shitty actors.
Yeah.
That's
what I was saying. They stink, but they fit into the movie, so you're like, okay.
Yeah. Now, really what needs to be great in this is our villain. Nightmare on Elm Street would have just been a fucking movie if the villain sucked. It would have been some forgettable piece of crap if Robert Englund hadn't stepped into the role, done his little thing. True?
True.
I think so. And you could say that, Jason, once he became the hulking monster,
took a while.
No, but even then, it just depended on who was playing.
Yeah, it worked in different ways.
Yeah, hotter works better for most people than other people. It just depends on who's playing the role to make the impact actually worth your time. And it just so happens that the fella playing Art the Clown, the titular Terrifier, if you will,
which we were calling Terrifier throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, because it's fun. Yeah, man, he's both eerie and amusing, and fucking disturbing. Really, is mostly what Art the Clown is, And again, I'm not even gonna put him on the level of Michael Myers in terms of Hold on, let me clarify that right there. I'm not saying the Michael Myers of any of the sequels. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
I'm saying of the original Michael Myers, the first one, the Carpenter classic. I'm not putting him on that level, but it kind of comes from the same foundation in terms of you don't know jack shit about Art the
guy
Clown.
that shows up.
It's just some fucking guy on Halloween that these people encounter. Is he some guy that does this every night? Is it he does it every Halloween? You don't know anything about him. Nope. It's just some disturbing fucking
You somehow
weirdo.
know less about him when the movie ends.
Yeah, really, when the movie ends, you're like, what the fuck? Is he like some sort of supernatural creature? Or
Is
what
he
the
like
fuck?
a Halloween beast? What's going on?
What is he? Yeah. But the fact that you don't get any answers just adds to the disturbing nature of him. It amplifies anything he did previous to that ending where basically he's a revenant of some sort, like the classic slashers.
Yeah.
He just keeps coming back. But before that, you just assume he's a guy, a sick weirdo or something. You don't know. And that's what works about him the most, that you can't put anything on him other than he's a fucking clown. And now clown horror
It doesn't never work with us.
It rarely fucking works.
Rarely.
You know,
Some might call Pennywise clown horror, but he's not a clown.
yeah, has been burdened by the fucking title of a clown horror movie.
He's not a clown.
Which it's not. It's a cosmic horror movie.
Yeah.
It's just we've been treated to a horrible adaptation in the miniseries, which, though classic, it's not a great adaptation of the source material. And we'll see where this new one ends up. But, you know, that's not a clown horror movie. He just happens.
He's not a clown.
He just takes on the face of a clown on occasion. But
Clown horror usually stinks.
clown horror usually stinks. And I think people want clown horror to kick ass. That's why they keep on going to it. And there's a few examples. You know, Stitches was a good one. Clown was not. I'm sorry, the concept was great, but the carry out
Sucked.
fell flat for me. But it's a give and take. I mean, it's a rocky territory. The clown horror sub genre. Needless to say, there's not a lot of classics, but I think this is one classic right here in Terrifier. And Art the Clown is definitely a clown.
Or is he?
Or is he to get excited about?
Yeah.
I would really be interested in seeing more of Art the Clown.
I will say that I was hearing a lot about this movie. It was getting its balls sucked by the horror community.
Mm-hmm.
And usually in my groups, that doesn't mean anything good. It usually means the movie's going to suck donkeys. But I checked out the trailer. In the trailer, they made it into a grindhouse style with like the over the top grindhousey music and all that shit, and the dubbing. And I was like, this could be okay, but it doesn't look great. The trailer was like kind of iffy still. That clown was what sold me, because he's a kind of eerie looking clown, and they used the eerie looking clown in the trailer. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this baby a shot. That's why I picked it, because I had heard it was really good. And it looked interesting enough for me to be like, all right, give it a shot on this one. And we actually spent money on renting this.
I would venture to say that even if the rest of the movie sucked, if that clown was as he was in the movie, it would have been an acceptable movie because of the fucking clown.
Yeah.
So here we have a clown that actually fucking works in the most basic, foundational way. He's creepy, and that's it.
Yeah.
And shockingly, that fucking actually gels on the screen. Anyway, let's talk about the effects in this movie. This is a pretty gory movie. I wouldn't say it's insanely gory, as some would suggest. I guess if you're not used to gore, this might be a little rough.
It's gorier than some other movies, I guess.
That is like
some of the recent movies.
It's like the least helpful sentence. This is a movie that I saw, and it's a movie that's unlike other movies that I saw.
But
it's like other movies.
I would find it to be a lot gorier than your standard like movie fare that you see in the theater.
Yeah, it's definitely. But if you're, which goes back to this, if you're used to gore, it's not. You're not going to see anything new here. But what you are going to see is cool kills.
Yeah.
That go hand in hand with this character, and by that I mean it's not so much the gore, and there is some cool gore in it.
Yeah.
But it's much more how disturbing the character doing that is than the gore itself.
Yeah.
You know, the gore is more like a payoff, but really you're just kind of distraught that this fucking guy is doing these things. Because it's a fucking clown!
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's a clown. But that being said, the effects are pretty cool, man.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Some pretty neat little shots. My favorite one was the head turned into a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, that was good.
That
was like straight out of some old-ass movie.
One that was genuinely disturbing was how he left his victim. Because do you remember that lady got her face ripped off by the chimp?
Yeah.
That's exactly what this thing looked like. And I say thing because it was horrifying how he left her. And that was super disturbing. There's like I said, it's more disturbing what he does to the people.
Yeah.
And that feeling is exacerbated by the fact that it's this creepy ass clown.
Yeah, I will say that from the trailer, I was expecting a kind of like goofy horror movie. And that opening scene with the face, I was like, oh shit, that's pretty disturbing. So yeah, it was a kind of an interesting thing that they did early on to kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't really go down from there.
And effects in horror movies usually go hand in hand with action, and since this is pretty much a straightforward slasher style film, the action per se is kind of nonstop, and this is just, it goes hand in hand with the plot as well, because there really is no plot other than a variety of people cross paths with this
Clown guy.
clown entity thing.
They get stuck in a house, basically, and he's hunting them down.
And it's basically the misfortune of these people.
I will say that they somehow keep bringing new people in throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amusing, because you just get to see more kills.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool how they bring them in. You know, it didn't feel forced, even though clearly...
Yeah, there was a point where you're like, man, they're just bringing people in, but at least it's not, like, shitty.
But you never stop having fun with them doing that. So it's not something you over-examine unless you're prone to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, maybe you will. But my favorite thing about this movie was none of those things, although I loved all of those things. It was the score, which was a straight 80s style synth score that could have easily fit into like some John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
More like an action John Carpenter movie, actually.
It's that slightly overdone 80s throwback music that we got like from Kung Fury, only it's a little more realistic. Like, okay, I can actually see that being in a movie.
Yeah, it was really neat, man. That's what really stood out the most for me. And maybe that sounds like absolutely nothing to most people, but to horror fans or cinephiles in general, a great score goes a long fucking way in selling things. Great example, 1982's Conan the Barbarian. The score is so amazing that the visual tapestry becomes richer, and because of that, you forget that Arnold is a shitty-ass actor, and that half of the people in the movie aren't even actors to begin with, because you're hooked in to into the journey because of what is the way it's presented to you. And in this one, if you're in the mood for this type of picture, this score is just gonna make it all the better. And that was my personal favorite part of the movie. Now, I know you like the score, so we'll move on to that and just get to the visual and aesthetics. And we covered that previously by saying it has a very dirty, grimy, grainy look, very purposeful.
It's interesting that it does have that grainy look, but it doesn't look like they used a cheap filter.
Yeah.
It just looks like they tinkered around with the colors and made it look like that.
The only time where it looks digitally manipulated would be
in the beginning.
At the beginning. Yeah. And again, that coupled with that one actress at the beginning, maybe you go, oh shit. But all those worries were thrown aside the moment the actual movie, started full force. And once again, this movie's not for everyone. If you are into mindless slashers, and this is it. Now, mindless might sound like an insult, but it's not. I mean, if you understand the language of this specific type of horror movie, then that's not an insult. That's actually kind of like a nice thing. If you can, as a director or a writer, manage to write an interesting, mindless story, that's quite the fucking feat. Because we have fucking Michael Bay over there wasting millions and millions of dollars making mindless bullshit that fucking bores the hell out of me and makes me go, why? Why am I seeing so much garbage on the screen and none of it is fun? This one is, we spent a lot of money in this compared to what we make.
Yeah.
But it's really
low budget, yeah.
Yeah, like $2 million maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe even less.
Very small amount of money spent on this movie. But everything is on the screen and you could tell it's a labor of love and you could tell that they had fun doing it. And that just comes off on the viewer, I want to be involved in this movie. I'm willing to forgive whatever flaws I would normally not forgive in another movie. And really, they don't end up as flaws, but they end up just being as part of the fun of watching the movie. So, in short, this is a blast for me. This is I think should be destined to be a cult classic. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is getting some attention, and I think it actually deserves it for once.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we see people sucking something's dick, and you see it, and it sucks dinglings. This one was actually paid off, and it was actually better than I thought it was gonna be. Like you said, freaking Art the Clown, pretty damn great, and he's a freaking effect.
I'm gonna compare this to another crowdfunded movie that actually got made and actually was released, but by a bigger name, and that's Rob Zombie's 31. And they're essentially the same movie in a lot of ways. Only there was much more money involved in Rob Zombie's 31.
Yeah.
It's much more professionally shot. It looks a lot cleaner. It looks like a studio movie, basically. And but I think the results for Terrifier are a lot more effective in the sense that it feels a lot more personal if you're a longtime fan of horror.
Yeah, I will say that this does feel like something Zombie would try to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It feels like it'd be up his alley. I don't know if that's the point you were trying to make.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's definitely like a fan of that kind of grindhouse movie.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking, I don't know if there's like a sub genre of grindhouse where it's just gore, but it's like that fan's movie, ideal movie. This feels like that.
Yeah, it really is, and I think in a lot of ways that's what Zombie attempted with 31, and I actually enjoyed 31 quite a bit. But I think this is a little more akin to what it was, what he was trying to get at, and remarkable considering it was done on much stricter limitations.
Yeah,
That it was all the more effective. But anyway, I'm gonna give this a final rating. Again, this is not in comparison to Citizen Kane or some bullshit. This is in its subgenre, which is a slasher. This would be a nice and solid 8.5. I'll even ratchet it up to a 9 based on Art the Clown alone.
yeah, I gotta agree. This was actually a good mix of the mindless fun, pretty damn good gore, really good effects, especially considering the budget. Surprising amount of atmosphere, and like you said, badass score. Gonna go ahead and give it a good old 9 too. We gotta check out the movies that came
source
before
material,
this.
yeah. Anyway, check this movie out if you haven't. It's definitely worth it if you're a fan of this particular subgenre.
I do recommend you rent it because, you know, these movies are made for a cent and the people need the money.
Yeah. Definitely don't be illegally downloading this one. I mean, these people are actually doing this, almost like begging for this money to make it. And you know, it was worth their time. We should make it worth their time because they made it worth our time to see. Anyway, check out Terrifier if you haven't. And if you're a particular fan of this subgenre, it won't be a waste of your time. It'll be fun. It'll be a blast. Hit like, share, subscribe with those notification buttons because we're out.
This music, story times, all kinds of shit for you. Anything goes inside the night, full cup of corpulent juice. Movies, music, story times, all kinds of shit for you.